Where did the concept of liquid luxury come from?
So liquid luxury actually is coined by two ladies. One of them used to be at Cass in London. So Flora Bardi and Jana Eckhart. And they had a paper in the Journal of Consumer Research around liquid consumption, if I'm not mistaken. So the idea of liquidity, they adapted to consumption based on Zygmunt Bauman's liquid modernity. So that is a sociologist who coined this expression to describe how our society actually leaves strict fundamentals of family, tradition, religion, place where you're born, work. This is all evaporating, and we're like yourself, right? We are much more mobile. We choose where we live. We change the country where we reside several times per lifetime. We do not forcefully talk about your job for a lifetime. We don't have partners for a lifetime anymore. We change them with episodes. So this is how modern life looks like, or nowadays life looks like. And that has an impact on the way how we consume. And of course, also how we consume luxury. So I had invited them to write a chapter for their research handbook, and this is where they then took the liquid consumption concept to luxury consumption. And I find this a very interesting term to describe how the way we consume luxury nowadays differs from maybe our parents' generation has consumed luxury. And even myself, when I was a student, and I look at my students today, I do see the difference. I'm oftentimes saying when I was at university, I actually started off with law, but I hated it. So after 2 semesters, I stopped it. But I remember that in the courses, there was a clear jet set code that was back in Munich in Germany. And every girl was striving for having a Chanel flat bag, having Rolex Oyster Perpetual in rose gold, a boyfriend with a Porsche Cayenne, and an apartment in Kitzbühel. So the guy had to have an apartment in Kitzbühel. That was more important than the guy. And when you had that, you made it. You were in the Munich jet set. And this was all based on very nowadays cheesy things. Like my students today, they would say, "Oh, this is cringe. Like, who wants that?" And it's funny because they would even say, "Why would you want an apartment in Kitzbühel, which is a ski resort in Austria? Because then you would have to go every weekend to the same spot." This is actually not what they want, and they don't want to own that Chanel flat bag. They want to have access to it, but the next event, it should be maybe the Bottega Veneta bag, or the I don't know what bag, because they don't want to be seen with the same bag every time on their Instagram posts.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And that is that doesn't mean that a Chanel flat bag in itself is not cool, but it's not cool to always have the same thing. And the loyalty towards brands is also like really rock bottom, because it's more about the category, the luxury lifestyle, the category of luxury, but the props that you're using to create this luxury lifestyle are exchangeable more and more.
So these are Z generation?
Yeah, Generation Z, yeah. And even I would also take myself. My luxury consumption is also changing, because we are all living this liquid luxury, right? And I do acquire sometimes objects on Vestiaire Collectif, which is, a circular economy, or I'm selling something on Vestiaire Collectif. So we all start changing our consumption habits.
So I'm just interested in Gen Z. With their consumption of luxury, then what's their aspiration? How would they translate that into what they desire in a relationship, in gifting, in attaining luxury brands, for example?
Well, it would be very arrogant if I would claim that I know what Gen Z wants, because I'm at most Gen Y, but I'm a kid at the intersection of Gen X, Gen Y. So I can only give some observations from the students I deal with, or the young people. I have a lot to do with young people, but I think that it's less related to the generation itself, but more the phase they are in their lives. And the liquid luxury, as I just mentioned, I'm also starting to change my behavior because liquid luxury is a society phenomenon. That is a different layer. But what I see a lot with the young people is what I did myself when I was really young. Of course, it's first and foremost having the brands that are in, and to signal group membership, to express something through the brands that you wear. And I think nowadays there is much more fragmentation in terms of tastes. And as soon as you have a specific taste regime, there is a selection of brands that are your friend brands. And then you pivot between them, but you express belonging to a certain group of people. Mm-hmm. And at the beginning of your life or your career, I think that is the most important thing. And then over a lifetime, people create maturity in how they consume luxury, because then, you emancipate yourself out of the groups that you associated with during studies maybe or during school. And then you're more and more confident in creating your own tastes. And then maybe you consume more for your inner values and for your inner satisfaction. Yeah. That maybe other brands. So I don't think in terms of the maturity and the transitioning through luxury consumption, every generation will go through the same steps, but the manifestation, which brands these are, which activities these are, is very much linked to where society is going. Is that was a little bit abstract right now, but
it addresses the question of, it depends what stage you are in your life, and even within the Gen Z generation, it depends what they're, because it's apparently it's wide. It's from 14 years old to 27. That's very big.
Yeah.
So
and there is not the one Gen Z, as you say. Like there are people. There's a big difference between Europe, Asia, and emerging countries, right? Where what does it mean to be Gen Z in these different zones? It's these are all different people.
So then, how are brands reacting to this concept of liquid luxury, where consumers are expecting that experience and symbolism and all that?
I think the most straightforward reaction, which I find a little bit flat, is that they all think we need to create experiences now. So we need to go into gastronomy, we need to go into F&B, we need to do hotels now. And no matter what they did before, you see it in Dubai with the branded real estate, right? As soon as everyone is doing it, well, then it's not interesting anymore, right? I think it's more about understanding how you can contribute to people's lifestyles in a meaningful way, and to transform people's experiences. So, as I mentioned before, is it enough to just create a fancy restaurant? Probably not, because it does not differentiate anymore. But what I would find much more interesting is to, for example, educate people, make them connoisseurs, introduce ways of signaling status which are immaterial. You can't do that with creating knowledge about the legacy of the brand. Or a phenomenon which I find very interesting is this fragrance geekery among young guys.
Oh, yes.
Like the TikTokers who are the absolute experts on fragrances. And these are young men. And that is a status symbol in itself, just the geekery around itself and how much you know about it. Or the watch geeks, right? It's, which watch you have, but on top, what do you know about them? And that is something very smart, because it binds those people to your brand, because they invest time. There is no shortcut. Learning, there is no shortcut. AI cannot learn for you. Either you have it in your head or you don't. And so it is a real investment. It's a real sacrifice that you're bringing in. And we know it from psychology. You more you invest into something, you more you love it.
We have a common connection, Nicola.
Yes.
With ID Genève, and he did a wonderful job with his brand and the sustainability aspect. but we're not seeing, it's not very common to have a brand that's so embedded in sustainability throughout the whole value chain, but it's a luxury brand as well. So do you think that we'll be seeing more of that in the future, or are luxury brands even interested in that aspect, sustainability?
Well, that is a very unlikely couple, sustainability and luxury. Not because it's not possible, but because in our heads they are really at opposite sides of value systems. I use that quite a lot in my teaching because there is a very interesting concept which is called the circular model of human values by Shalom Schwartz, where actually everything which is related to luxury, so social dominance, power, self-enhancement values, are opposite in this model of sustainability, which is all about universalism, benevolence, taking care of a bigger whole than ourselves. And Nicola would probably say ego versus eco. And these value systems, they are really opposite to each other, meaning that they are creating a value conflict in our minds. And we also have done research on this where we activated at the same time materialistic values and green values in people's minds. And when you activate both of them at the same time, people don't feel well because they know they have a conflicting self-concept in themselves. Coming back to authenticity, so they feel fake. So, for example, imagine you're driving with your gas-guzzling Porsche Cayenne to a farmer's market. You can't put your finger on it, but you know there is something wrong here, right? And so this is a challenge that luxury brands have to deal with, that if you try to sell something as sustainable luxury, people feel like, that there's something which does not really work. So does that mean that sustainable luxury cannot exist? No. But from my perspective, sustainability needs to be something that needs to be done, but not be talked about so much. It's a requirement. It's a must-do. It's a hygiene level factor, unless it's really your core competence, like for Nicola, who has sustainability by design, or Stella McCartney, who had sustainability or animal welfare by design in her brand. But even she said, I don't want to be known for being an activist. I want to be known as a good designer. And same with Tesla. Tesla in the beginning was not marketing their cars as an environmental car. They were selling it as a sexy sports car, which, by the way, was completely electronic. And that is very smart to do. So the value proposition still needs to be something sexy, cool, luxury, but the sustainability needs to be done we don't market our luxury brands through, we have such a great accounting office, right?
Oh, yes. No. Yeah.
So it's a little bit the same principle.
Yeah, so it should be kind of part of the mechanism, but not necessarily highlighted.
Yeah.
So sustainability and luxury opposites in the mind of consumers, but not necessarily, it doesn't have to be the opposites in a business.
No, you can integrate them. Oftentimes it's, especially when you retrospectively have to change it. That is the nasty thing. If your systems were not set up for this and now you have to really rework your supply chain, that is, of course, a lot of pain that many of these companies have to go through. But when you have sustainability designed right away, for example, for recycling, like if you design that directly into it, that's perfect. And that does not stand counter luxury. I just would not use it as your core competence.
Just to kind of pull everything together, what I saw in one of your articles, part one of that article that I mentioned about liquid luxury, you defined 3 or 4 core aspects of what a luxury brand has to be. What do you think is the most important thing aside from authenticity?
So a luxury brand, in my view, has to have really a meaning It has to stand for something, for a specific value system, for a specific culture. It needs to add to people's lives. The second aspect is you need people who incorporate this. So a founder or a group of people who really burn for that and who sacrifice for that and have real passion for it. And the third one is that you need to do this or to manifest this brand with a artisanry or a specific craftsmanship that can be including technology nowadays, because I think technology is an art by itself or a craft by itself, but it needs to be done in a very meticulous and intelligent way. So these three things for me are very important for a luxury brand.
And would AI shape any of that at all, do you think?
Yeah, I fear so.
Yeah.
Again, there is preliminary research that actually shows when we use AI in design functions and luxury, that it actually, for now at least, in the minds of consumers, that takes away the luxury essence, because it's a machine, it's not a human being anymore. It takes away the heart out of it.
Yeah.
But only for those brands who are very emotional. When we talk about car brands, for example, who are technology-oriented brands, the effect is not there. So I think AI for now definitely will change the operations in luxury, and there is nothing wrong about it to make it more efficient and so on. But I see a very big hesitation in customer-facing functions, and I'm glad about it, honestly. But I'm sure this is going to change. And the question is, are we going to use AI just to make a luxury flat, which actually destroys luxury? Or will we use AI and technology to create culture with it?
So, closing question would be, what does luxury mean to you personally?
Oh, that is, I get this question regularly, and I always have a hard time answering it. But for now, I would say luxury has become very much tied to freedom in my daily planning. So waking up and having nothing in my agenda is a wonderful feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a very immaterial luxury.
Yeah. Well, Felicitas, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been such an enriching conversation, and I hope to maybe welcome you again when you're back in Dubai.
Thank you so much for having me and for your fantastic questions. Very thought-provoking.